So on May 4th, 2026, 7 people sitting in a room in Gilroy, California, they quietly spent over $2 million.
Right.
And they bypassed state environmental laws, hired a new police chief, and shifted their local tax burden onto out-of-towners.
Which is a lot for one night.
Yeah. I mean, they did all of this before they even took a coffee break. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are really excited to get into this one.
We really are. Because, it's a staggering amount of power wielded in a surprisingly mundane setting. We tend to imagine these high-stakes decisions happening in, underground war rooms or something.
Totally, like an action movie.
Exactly. But the actual machinery of society, it's operated in municipal council chambers on just a random Monday night.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Because today, we are looking at a single 8-page PDF.
Just 8 pages.
Just 8 pages. It's the regular meeting agenda for the City Council of Gilroy. And, at first glance, it's just this dry, bureaucratic formatting. But if you look closely, you realize this document is a high-stakes blueprint.
It really is the blueprint for how a city runs.
Right. So we are going to unpack how Mayor Greg Basso and his 6 council members balance multi-million-dollar budgets, massive physical infrastructure, incredibly complex social issues, and local democracy.
Yeah.
And they do it all at the exact same time.
Yeah. And to really grasp the scale of this, I want you to imagine a dynamic, illuminated map of a city grid.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
That is essentially the visual backdrop for what we are analyzing today. Local government is the absolute front line of society. This isn't abstract political philosophy being debated on cable news.
Right, it's not just talking heads.
No, this is literal pavement. It is the actual water pipes under your feet, the zoning of your neighborhood, and the immediate physical safety of residents. So this 8-page agenda is basically the DNA code dictating how that physical city will operate tomorrow morning.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we're talking about physical operations, the sheer machinery needed just to keep the lights on and the water flowing is wild.
Oh, it's massive.
There's this specific mechanic on the agenda called the consent calendar. And, to me, it looks like a family's weekend run to the hardware store, except this family is casually dropping millions of dollars in a single transaction.
That is a great analogy. The consent calendar is one of the most powerful and, frankly, necessary tools in municipal government.
How does it actually work?
Well, it allows the council to group dozens of routine items together and pass them with a single unanimous vote. So no debate, no individual presentations.
But look at what is sitting in this single shopping cart, though. They are buying a Vermeer wood chipper for over $104,000.
A very expensive wood chipper.
Right. And they're picking up a whole fleet of John Deere equipment. So a backhoe loader, a compact excavator, a tilt trailer for over $350,000.
It adds up fast.
It really does. And I have a mechanical question here. Do they just send, a city employee down to a heavy machinery dealership with a giant checkbook to haggle for a backhoe?
Not quite, no. If you read the fine print on the agenda, it mentions they're purchasing this equipment through Sourcewell cooperative agreements.
Sourcewell. What is that?
It's a crucial mechanism for how cities actually buy things. A single city like Gilroy, they don't always have the leverage to get the best price on a really specialized wood chipper. So Sourcewell is essentially a massive bulk discount club for municipalities.
Oh, so it's like a municipal Costco card for heavy machinery.
Exactly like a municipal Costco card. It pools the purchasing power of thousands of local governments across the country to negotiate wholesale rates directly with manufacturers like John Deere. So the city council is just voting to authorize the funds to tap into that pre-negotiated contract.
Okay, that makes sense. But it doesn't stop at tractors. In this exact same single vote, there's a massive contract amendment for hydroscience design services for water utility improvements.
Right, the water utilities.
Yeah, bringing their total contract to over $1.1 million.
No.
And then, buried just a few bullet points down, they are officially appointing Brandon Sanchez as the new police chief.
Yeah.
And Cindy Murphy as the new finance director.
Okay.
All passed in one single breath.
I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because, sure, the city needs efficiency, but isn't relying on a single rubber stamp for million-dollar contracts and police chiefs, isn't that just an illusion of transparency?
Well, you are hitting on the central tension of the consent calendar right there. The theoretical safeguard is that any council member or any citizen sitting in the audience can demand an item be pulled from the calendar for a dedicated public debate.
Okay, but who is actually doing that? I mean, if the supporting documentation for an agenda is this 500-page packet of engineering schematics and union contracts, expecting a random citizen to catch a controversial line item seems like a massive stretch.
It is a stretch, I won't deny that. And that is why local government is ultimately a massive calculated trust exercise.
A trust exercise. Yeah. The assumption built into the system is that the specialized city staff have rigorously vetted these contracts, right? And that the council members have read their briefings over the weekend, and everyone generally agrees it's standard operating procedure.
Okay, so it relies heavily on the staff.
Exactly, because if a city council had to publicly debate the granular merits of every single water pipe amendment or review the resume of every department director on the floor, the meeting would last for weeks.
Right, they'd never get anything done.
The city would paralyze itself.
Okay, so they trade microscopic public scrutiny for actual operational momentum. But that level of spending, it requires a massive influx of cash.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they just casually authorized over $1 million for water design and $500,000 for heavy machinery. If they passed the bill for all of this directly to the residents of Gilroy, they'd be voted out in the next election.
Which is why municipal finance is less about taxing your residents and more about finding creative ways to leverage people who don't live there.
And here's where it gets really interesting for you listening. When you look at the revenue side of this agenda, it's like the city is operating a highly strategic side hustle.
A side hustle, I like that.
Yeah. We see the approval of a capital improvement plan to develop an outdoor events center at Gilroy Gardens. We see reports from the Gilroy Tourism Business Improvement District.
Right, the GTBID.
Exactly. But the centerpiece is a ballot measure for November 2026 to increase the transient occupancy tax. They want to bump it up from 9% to an initial 11% and eventually to a maximum of 13%.
What's fascinating here is the macro incentive this creates for the physical layout of a city.
How do you mean?
Well, the transient occupancy tax, or TOT, is charged on hotel rooms. The genius of it, from a politician's perspective, is that you are generating crucial revenue to fund your police department and your water infrastructure, but you are extracting it from tourists.
Wow. So the people paying the tax don't get to vote in the local election.
Nope.
And the people voting in the local election don't have to pay the tax.
Exactly. It is the perfect political maneuver. You build an outdoor event center at Gilroy Gardens to lure them in, you market it through the tourism district, and you tax them while they sleep.
That is brilliant.
It creates a phenomenon known in urban planning as the fiscalization of land use.
A fiscalization of land use, okay.
Yeah. If you are sitting on the city council, a new hotel is a revenue geyser. It pumps TOT directly into your general fund, and the people staying there don't enroll kids in your public schools.
Right. They don't need schools.
They don't require long-term social services, and they leave after a weekend.
But, and this is the big but, the people who actually run the city, the teachers, the baristas at the coffee shops, the mechanics fixing those John Deere tractors, they don't leave after the weekend.
Right. They live there.
They need places to live full time. And if the city is financially incentivized to prioritize hotels and commercial districts, housing takes a back seat.
And we see the result of that collision squarely in the housing section of this agenda.
Yes, we do.
The city is trying to execute a very aggressive, two-pronged approach to the housing shortage. They have to force new development into existence while simultaneously playing the market to keep it affordable.
Okay, let's look at the first prong, forcing development. Because there is a public hearing led by Community Development Director Sharon Goey to approve 42 townhomes on Howson Street.
Right, 95 Howson Street.
Yeah. And the actual approval isn't what surprised me. It's the mechanism they are using to get it done.
The CQA exemption.
Exactly. They're applying a CQA guideline, Section 15332, which is a Class 32 exemption, to completely bypass further environmental review for the project.
Yep.
I mean, using a CEQA exemption feels like inputting a cheat code to skip a famously difficult boss fight in a video game because your character already has the right stats.
That analogy is incredibly accurate for California real estate. CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, was designed to protect the environment. But over the decades, it has frequently been weaponized by neighborhood groups to stall new housing projects through endless litigation and, traffic studies.
Yeah, they just use it to block things they don't want.
Exactly. So a Class 32 exemption is the state's way of offering a bypass lane specifically for infill development.
How does that bypass actually work, though? Do they just declare the land environmentally void?
It is entirely based on location. The exemption basically states that if a developer is building on a site that is less than 5 acres, is already entirely surrounded by urban uses within city limits, and can be hooked up to existing utilities,
That's fine.
then the state assumes the environmental impact is negligible. By proactively granting this exemption, the Gilroy City Council is essentially shielding the townhome project from NMBY lawsuits.
Wow.
They are signaling that they are desperate for market rate density and will use bureaucratic loopholes to get shovels in the ground faster.
But the agenda immediately proves that just pouring new concrete isn't enough to solve the crisis.
No, it's not.
Right next to this rapid push for townhomes, the council is awarding a massive contract. We are talking nearly $1 million. $973,689 to an organization called Hello Housing.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Their entire mandate is to administer the city's below-market rate housing program for the next few years. Plus, there is a whole ceremonial proclamation dedicating May as Affordable Housing Month.
Which really illustrates the fundamental limit of the free market in modern urban planning.
How so?
You cannot just build your way to affordability in a high-demand area. If you only build market-rate townhomes, the service workers and young families will still be priced out. So the city has to step in as an active financial participant.
But what does Hello Housing actually do with almost $1 million of city money? Because they aren't construction workers building new homes.
No, they are essentially real estate compliance officers. When a city mandates that a certain percentage of new development must be sold or rented below market rate, someone has to heavily manage that system.
Right, to make sure people aren't scamming it.
Exactly. Hello Housing runs the lotteries for those units. They conduct the rigorous background checks and income verifications to ensure the applicants actually qualify.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that critically, they monitor the resale of those units. If someone buys a subsidized townhome, Hello Housing ensures that they don't illegally flip it on the open market a year later for a massive profit.
Ah, I see.
So that $1 million contract is the administrative cost of artificially keeping a segment of the housing market accessible.
So what does this all mean when those safety nets completely fail?
Well, that's the dark side of it.
Because if you don't win the Hello Housing lottery and you can't afford the market rate townhomes on Howson Street, the consequences spill directly onto the physical streets. And this agenda transitions from administrative housing policy into the visceral reality of homelessness.
It is the starkest contrast on the agenda. We move from these abstract zoning incentives to the hazardous materials reality of managing human encampments.
And the financial weight of this is staggering. The council is voting on 3 separate on-call contracts for encampment cleanups. Each contract is for $750,000.
That's a lot of money.
That is a total of $2.25 million going to the San Jose Conservation Corps, the California Highway Adoption Company, and FS Global Solutions.
Yep.
And there is a separate, highly specific agenda item regarding an ongoing encampment at 6th Street and Camino Arroyo Drive. I have to ask, spending almost $2.5 million just to clean up encampments, it feels like putting an incredibly expensive Band-Aid on a broken leg.
It does feel like that. But you have to view this through the lens of a city's dual mandate.
Dual mandate.
Yeah. A local government cannot afford the luxury of only focusing on long-term systemic cures. They are legally and morally obligated to play defense and offense at the exact same time.
With defense being the $2 million in cleanups.
Yes. The defense is the immediate public works reality. Encampments often lack sanitation, running water, and trash services. The city is legally liable for public health hazards on its right-of-ways.
So they have to clean it up for safety.
Exactly. Those contracts aren't just for picking up litter. They cover hazardous waste removal, biohazard mitigation, and the heavy logistics required to clear massive sites safely. It is an immediate reactive necessity.
Okay, and the offense.
The offense is happening later in the very same meeting. Interim Police Chief Scott Smithy and Sharon Goey are presenting a strategic report on the draft Santa Clara County Community Plan to end homelessness.
So while Public Works is clearing the physical camps, the administration is trying to align with the county on root causes like addiction, mental health, and permanent and supportive housing.
Precisely.
But you really feel the friction between that defense and offense in the public comments section of this agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
You have Jan Bernstein Chargin explicitly asking the council for an extension for the Camp Hope encampment. You have Julie Della Maggiore advocating for deeper assistance for the unhoused, And Melissa Santos highlighting resources from Community Solutions.
And this is where local government is entirely unique.
Yeah,
If you are a federal senator, you debate policy in a vacuum, and you rarely look your constituents in the eye.
that's very true.
But on a city council, you have to authorize the hazmat cleanup of the 6th Street camp to satisfy the demands of neighboring businesses, and then immediately listen to advocates pleading for the survival of the residents at Camp Hope, standing just a few feet away from you at the microphone.
Wow.
The emotional and intellectual whiplash is intense.
And the whiplash doesn't even stop there. We've talked about multi-million-dollar infrastructure, the strategic taxing of tourists, complex real estate compliance, and the realities of homelessness.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
But in this exact same meeting, these 7 elected officials step into the role of moral referees and micromanagers of daily life.
Because local government regulates the minutiae of human behavior just as much as it regulates concrete.
Look at these next items. Sharon Goey is back, seeking direction on tobacco retailer permits. She's specifically looking at the density of corner stores and whether to restrict the sale of flavored tobacco.
Right.
And right after that, Assistant City Administrator Harjot Sangha presents a review of campaign finance laws and contribution limits.
It's quite a pivot.
It's crazy. In a matter of hours, they go from buying a wood chipper to managing human encampments to deciding if a gas station can sell a vanilla vape pen to tweaking the very election finance laws that dictate how they keep their own jobs.
Which raises an important question about the fundamental architecture of our democracy. When you look at the dais, you have Mayor Bozo and 6 council members, 7 individuals who are the ultimate generalists.
Okay.
It is mathematically impossible for them to be subject matter experts in civil engineering, macroeconomics, behavioral public health, and constitutional election law.
Right. So how do they make a competent decision on water utility design and flavored tobacco back-to-back?
They rely entirely on the specialized city staff. The directors we've seen carrying this agenda, Sharon Goey in community development, the incoming finance director, Cindy Murphy, the public works staff.
The people doing the actual day-to-day work.
Yes, their entire function is to process mountains of complex, specialized data and distill it into actionable choices. The council members then apply the community's overarching values to those choices.
And you see how aggressively they try to absorb outside information when you look at the very end of the agenda.
The committees.
Yes, it lists the external committees these council members sit on. It is a sprawling web of regional influence.
Oh, it really is.
Councilmember Hilton is on the Caltrain Policy Group. Councilmember Bracco sits on the Santa Clara Water Commission. Councilmember Ramirez is on Gilroy Sister Cities.
They act like nodes in a network.
Exactly, pulling transportation, water, and cultural data from the entire region and dragging it back to Gilroy.
And it perfectly illustrates that nothing on this agenda happens in isolation. The Water Commission data influences where the new house and street townhomes can be built.
Right.
The townhomes dictate the property tax base, but the TOT hotel tax funds the police department,
And then the police and public works handle the encampment cleanups.
which are tied to the countywide homelessness strategy. It is a deeply interconnected ecosystem, all managed through the seemingly boring 8-page PDF.
Well, I think we have thoroughly proved our point today. A local city council agenda is not a cure for insomnia.
Not at all.
It is the living, breathing blueprint of civilization at the ground level. We've traced the mechanical trust exercise of the consent calendar. We've unpacked the fiscal strategy of taxing tourists instead of residents.
The fiscalization of land use.
Yes. We've exposed the cheat codes of housing development and stared down the multi-million-dollar realities of homelessness.
It is a profound level of responsibility for those 7 people. And as we close out, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
Every single stoplight you wait at, every local park you walk through, every subsidized apartment building in your neighborhood, and every local tax you pay, every single one of them started exactly like this.
Wow.
As a simple, easily ignored bullet point on a PDF agenda on a Tuesday night.
The physical world around us is literally just enacted paperwork.
Exactly. So, what unseen decisions are being voted on in your own city hall tonight that will completely alter your physical reality tomorrow?
A perfect question to leave hanging in the air. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the surprisingly intense world of municipal agendas. I hope you never look at your local government or a newly paved street the same way again. Keep digging, keep questioning, and stay curious. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.